Family brunch at Westbrook Country Club. 11 a.m. Don't embarrass me in front of my friends. Wear something decent for once. Priya. I stared at my phone, then at the $4.2 million penthouse view of San Francisco Bay spread out before me. 3 hours later, I sat quietly at the corner of a long table while my sister held court. My sister works as some basic assistant, Priya bragged to her country club friends, gesturing dismissively in my direction. Couldn't handle real business. Some people just aren't cut out for success. Her friends nodded sympathetically. I watched silently, sipping my water. Then the investment director of Priya's company appeared at the table, face pale with urgency. Ms. Patel, I apologize for the interruption. Your $150 million Series C funding decision is needed immediately. The lead investor is here and requesting a meeting. Priya frowned. The lead investor? Who? Your sister, ma'am. My sister's martini slipped from her fingers, glass shattering against the marble floor. My name is Ananya Patel. I'm 29 years old and I've spent my entire life in my older sister's shadow. Priya is 4 years older than me, the golden child, the family star, the one who could do no wrong. She was homecoming queen, valedictorian, Stanford MBA, and founder of Lumina Cosmetics, a direct-to-consumer beauty brand that had been the darling of business magazines for the past 5 years. I was the other one. The quiet sister. The disappointment. The favoritism started before I could walk. I've seen the photo albums. Priya's first steps documented in 30 photographs, mine in 3. Her first words recorded on video, mine mentioned in a single line of my mother's journal. Ananya spoke today. Said no. Fitting. I remember being 6 years old, bringing home a drawing I'd made at school. It was a family portrait. Mom, Dad, Priya, me, our dog Biscuit. I'd spent all day on it, carefully choosing colors, trying to capture everyone's smile. Look, Mommy. I made this for you. Mom glanced at it while helping Priya with her homework. That's nice, Sanu. Put it on the fridge. But don't you want to? Priya's working on her science fair project. She needs my help. Go play, sweetie. I put the drawing on the fridge myself. It stayed there for 2 days before disappearing. I found it later in the recycling bin, under a pile of Priya's old homework assignments that Mom had carefully preserved before deciding which ones to save in Priya's memory box. At 11, I won a regional math competition. First place out of 340 students. I came home with a trophy taller than my arm, beaming, expecting celebration. Dad was on the phone. Priya just got accepted to the Young Entrepreneurs Summer Program. Can you believe it? Full scholarship. Our daughter, the future business mogul. Dad, I won. He held up a finger. Still on the phone. Still celebrating Priya. I put my trophy in my room. No one asked about it for 3 weeks until Mom came in looking for something and noticed it collecting dust on my shelf. Oh, Anu, did you win something? That's sweet. Sweet. Not impressive. Not worth celebrating. Sweet. The defining moment came when I was 16. I'd been coding since I was 12, teaching myself Python, JavaScript, building small apps, automating things around the house. I'd created a budgeting app for my own use, something that tracked expenses and predicted spending patterns. A venture capitalist friend of Dad's saw it at a dinner party. His eyes went wide. This is impressive, he said, scrolling through the interface. Really impressive. The algorithm here, this predictive model, this is sophisticated work. How old did you say she is? Dad laughed uncomfortably. Oh, that's just Ananya. She tinkers with computers. It's a hobby. This isn't a hobby. This is venture backable. Have you considered? Ananya's not really the business type, Mom interjected. She's more creative. Basic. Priya's the one with the business sense. The VC looked confused, but he didn't push. He handed me his card quietly as he left. Call me when you turn 18, he whispered. I'm serious. I still have that card. It sits framed on my desk, next to the Series A term sheet that man eventually signed 7 years later. I went to UC Berkeley, not Stanford like Priya, because my parents decided 2 Stanford tuitions were excessive, and I should be practical. I studied computer science and business, graduating in 3 years instead of 4 because I had nothing to do but work. My family came to Priya's Stanford graduation. They sent me a card for mine. Congratulations, sweetie. We're proud. Mom and Dad. No visit. No ceremony attendance. Priya had a gallery opening that weekend. Couldn't miss it. After graduation, I told my family I'd gotten a job as an executive assistant at a tech company. It was easier than explaining the truth. The truth was that I'd sold my budgeting app, the one I'd built at 16, for $2.3 million. I'd used that money to start my own investment firm, Horizon Ventures, focused on early-stage technology companies. Within 3 years, Horizon had grown to $340 million in assets under management. By year 5, we'd hit $890 million. Today we manage $1.4 billion and I personally own 100% of the firm. Forbes did a feature on me last year, The Quiet Billionaire, how Ananya Patel built a venture empire without anyone noticing. I'm on speed dial with CEOs of 3 Fortune 500 companies. I've been invited to Davos twice. My family still thinks I'm a secretary. The secret wasn't hard to keep. Every family dinner, every holiday, every phone call, the conversation centered on Priya. Her company, her magazine features, her celebrity clients, her country club membership, her society friends. No one asked about my life. Not once in 7 years. So I never told them. Priya's text that Saturday morning wasn't unusual. She summoned me to events periodically, always with the same instructions. Don't embarrass her, wear something decent, stay quiet. I think she kept me around as a contrast. The successful sister looks even more impressive standing next to the family disappointment. What Priya didn't know was that her company Lumina Cosmetics had been hemorrhaging cash for 18 months. The direct-to-consumer beauty market had gotten brutally competitive. Customer acquisition costs tripled. Profit margins collapsed. Lumina was burning through $4 million monthly with no clear path to profitability. 6 months ago, Lumina's board had quietly begun seeking emergency funding. A Series C round that would either save the company or confirm its failure. The investment banking team handling the deal brought it to Horizon. Lumina Cosmetics, my senior analyst reported. Beauty brand, direct-to-consumer, currently valued at $180 million but declining. They're seeking $150 million in Series C funding to restructure operations and attempt a turnaround. I looked at the pitch deck. Lumina's logo stared back at me. My sister's face smiled from the founder's vision slide. What's your assessment? The brand has value. Customer loyalty is surprisingly strong despite poor recent performance. But leadership is the problem. The founder, Priya Patel, resists operational changes. She's burned through 3 CFOs in 2 years. The board is frustrated but can't remove her without triggering founder protection clauses. I studied the financials. $4 million monthly burn rate. $23 million remaining runway. 6 months before bankruptcy. The turnaround potential? High with the right leadership. Their supply chain is a mess but fixable. Marketing is unfocused but the customer base responds to quality content. If someone forced operational discipline. He shrugged. Could be worth $500 million in 3 years. I should have passed. Conflict of interest. Emotional entanglement. Every investment principle I'd learned said walk away. Instead I said, set up a meeting with their board. Anonymous investor. I want to see their full books. The meeting happened 2 weeks later. I sat in a conference room with Lumina's board of directors. 5 experienced executives who'd watched helplessly as Priya drove the company toward a cliff. Ms. Patel, the board chairman said, your analysis is impressive. But we should warn you the founder is difficult. She resists outside input. Previous investors have found her challenging. I understand family businesses, I said, keeping my face neutral. This isn't exactly family. I mean, I understand difficult founders. What are your terms? We negotiated for 3 hours. By the end, Horizon Ventures had committed $150 million for a 47% stake in Lumina Cosmetics, plus board seats, operational oversight rights, and the ability to appoint a new CFO. The final closing was scheduled for the Saturday of Priya's country club brunch. The timing wasn't coincidental. What made the Lumina investment complicated wasn't the money. $150 million was significant but manageable for Horizon's portfolio. It wasn't even the family connection, though that added layers of emotional complexity. The complication was that I genuinely believed the company could succeed, if Priya would get out of her own way. I spent 3 months doing due diligence. I reviewed every financial statement, every marketing campaign, every customer survey. I interviewed former employees anonymously, analyzed competitor strategies, and built detailed models projecting various turnaround scenarios. The picture that emerged was fascinating. Priya was a brilliant brand builder. Her instincts for visual identity, for connecting with customers emotionally, for creating products people genuinely loved. Those skills were real. The customers who bought Lumina products were intensely loyal. They believed in the brand. But Priya was a terrible operator. She made hiring decisions based on who agreed with her rather than who challenged her. She refused to cut underperforming product lines because she was emotionally attached. She spent $2.3 million on a single photo shoot because the lighting wasn't exactly right. The company was a portrait of a founder who couldn't separate ego from execution. My investment thesis was straightforward. Preserve Priya's brand authority while removing her operational control. Let her be the face of Lumina. Let her make creative decisions. But take everything else, finance, supply chain, marketing strategy, HR, away from her. The board agreed enthusiastically. They'd been trying to do exactly this for 2 years but lacked the leverage. My $150 million bought that leverage. The term sheet was structured carefully. Horizon would control 3 of 7 board seats. We'd appoint the CFO and SU. All spending above $500,000 required investor approval. Priya retained her CEO title and a 28% equity stake, but her actual authority would be limited to brand and product development. She could still be the star. She just couldn't drive the car anymore. The closing documents were signed Friday evening. By Saturday morning, I was officially the largest individual shareholder in my sister's company. And she had no idea. The country club brunch was her weekly ritual, gathering with her society friends to discuss philanthropy, fashion, and their various business ventures. I'd been summoned as background decoration, the disappointing sister who made Priya look better by comparison. I arrived at 10:45 a.m., wearing the something decent Priya had demanded, a simple navy dress that cost $47 at a department store. I'd left my $3,200 watch at home. My $180,000 car was parked 3 blocks away. I'd walked the last distance. The disguise of mediocrity was comfortable by now. Armor I'd worn for years. Priya was already holding court when I entered. 8 women sat around a long table on the club's terrace, mimosas gleaming in the morning sun. They all had the same look. Expensive highlights, designer clothes, the confident posture of people who'd never been told no. Anu. Priya called, waving me over. Everyone, this is my sister. She works as an assistant somewhere. Very supportive role. Polite smiles. Dismissive glances. I took a seat at the corner of the table and ordered water. So Priya, one of the women said, how's Lumina doing? I heard you're closing a huge funding round. Priya beamed. We are. $150 million. It's been very competitive. Multiple investors fighting for the opportunity. But we're selective. Only the best partners for Lumina. How exciting. Who's the lead investor? Some venture fund from San Francisco. Very prestigious. They practically begged to be involved. I sipped my water. My sister works as some basic assistant, Priya continued, gesturing at me for emphasis. Couldn't handle real business. Some people just aren't cut out for success. But she's supportive in her own way. Aren't you, Anu? I nodded. Very supportive. The women laughed. Priya basked. Then Marcus Webb walked onto the terrace. Marcus was Lumina's investment director, the executive responsible for managing relationships with the company's financial backers. I'd met him during due diligence. He knew exactly who I was. His face went pale when he saw me. He hesitated, clearly weighing his options. Then professionalism won. He approached the table. Miss Patel, he said to Priya, I apologize for interrupting. But there's an urgent matter regarding the Series C closing. Priya frowned, annoyed at the disruption. Can't it wait? I'm with friends. I'm afraid not, ma'am. The lead investor is here. She's requesting an immediate meeting to finalize terms. Here? At the club? Priya looked confused. That's odd. Who is she? Marcus glanced at me. I saw him swallow. Your sister, ma'am. Ms. Ananya Patel is the founder and managing partner of Horizon Ventures. She's Lumina's largest individual shareholder as of yesterday evening. Priya's martini slipped from her fingers. The glass shattered against the marble floor, sending shards skittering across the terrace. A server rushed over to clean it up. The country club women stared, mouths open, heads swiveling between Priya and me. "That's impossible," Priya said, her voice strange and thin. "My sister is a secretary. She works at some tech company answering phones." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry, Ms. Patel, but I've been in meetings with your sister for 3 months. Horizon Ventures manages $1.4 billion in assets. Ms. Ananya Patel founded the firm 7 years ago." 7 years. Mom's friend Linda, sitting at the table, pulled out her phone. "Let me just..." She typed rapidly, then froze. "Oh my God. She's on Forbes. The Quiet Billionaire. How Ananya Patel built a venture empire without anyone noticing." The article photo appeared on her screen. Me standing in Horizon's San Francisco office, the Bay Bridge visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Another woman grabbed the phone. "Her net worth is estimated at $890 million. $890 million. Priya's face cycled through expressions: confusion, denial, then something I'd never seen from her before: fear. "Anu," she said slowly, "what is this?" I set down my water glass. "Horizon Ventures led your Series C round. We've committed $150 million. The documents were signed last night. You own part of my company?" 47%. "I'm your largest shareholder." The terrace had gone completely silent. Even the servers had stopped moving, sensing the drama unfolding. "This is insane," Priya said, her voice rising. "You don't know anything about business. You couldn't even finish Stanford." "I went to Berkeley. Graduated in 3 years. Summa cum laude." "You're an assistant. You take notes at meetings." "I run meetings. With CEOs of companies worth considerably more than Lumina." One of the country club women, Jennifer I think, stood up abruptly. "Priya, I need to go. I have a thing." "Me too," another said. Within 30 seconds 6 of the 8 women had fled, leaving only Linda and one other who seemed too fascinated to leave. Priya's breathing had become ragged. Her perfect composure was cracking, the mask slipping away. "Why?" she demanded. "Why would you invest in my company? To humiliate me? To prove some point?" "I invested because Lumina has potential. Your brand is strong. Your customers are loyal. The company is worth saving." "Saving? Lumina doesn't need saving. We're thriving." Marcus cleared his throat. "Miss Patel, perhaps this isn't the venue." "Tell her," I said quietly. Marcus looked pained but obligated. "Ma'am, Lumina has 6 months of runway remaining at current burn rate. Without this Series C, we'd be in bankruptcy proceedings by January." Priya stared at him. "That's not true. Our financials." "The financials you see are optimistic projections. The board has been trying to discuss this with you for months, but you've refused to engage." "Refused to? I'm the CEO. I know my own company." "You know the brand," I said. "You've never known the business." Priya turned on me, eyes blazing. "You don't get to lecture me. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. Mom and Dad know it. Everyone knows it. Mom and Dad don't know anything about me. They never asked. Because there was nothing to ask about." I stood up finally. 29 years of silence. 29 years of being dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. And somehow standing there I didn't feel angry. I felt tired. And finished. "Priya, I'm going to say this once. Lumina is a good company with a terrible leader. You built something real and then you nearly destroyed it through ego and incompetence. I'm not here to rescue you. I'm here to rescue the 300 employees whose jobs depend on Lumina surviving. They don't deserve to lose their livelihoods because you can't read a balance sheet. How dare. The terms of our investment include operational oversight. A new CFO starts Monday. A new COO starts in 2 weeks. You'll retain your title and your brand authority, but every major decision goes through the board now, and I control the board." Priya's face had gone white. "You can't do this. It's my company. It's 28% your company. It's 47% mine. And right now mine is bigger." Marcus stepped forward holding a tablet. Ms. Ananya Patel, I have the final documents requiring your signature. The wire transfer is pending your approval. I took the tablet, reviewed the summary page and signed. Transfer authorized. $150 million to Lumina Cosmetics operating account. Effective immediately. The notification chimed on Priya's phone. She looked down at it, saw the alert from her banking app. $150 million deposited, and the color drained from her face. That money, she whispered. That's real. I actually run a billion-dollar investment firm. Yes. I handed the tablet back to Marcus. I'll be at the office Monday for the transition meeting. Make sure the board is present. I turned to leave. A new wait. Priya's voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Tell us. All these years. I stopped but didn't turn around. You never asked, Priya. Not once in 7 years. You were too busy explaining to your friends how I couldn't handle real business. I walked off the terrace, leaving my sister standing amid broken glass and shattered assumptions. The aftermath of the country club revelation rippled outward like shockwaves from an earthquake. By that evening, 3 of Priya's society friends had called her to express sympathy, while fishing for details. The country club's social hierarchy was recalibrating in real time. Priya, who had positioned herself as the successful entrepreneur surrounded by a mediocre family, was now the woman whose secretary sister had bailed out her failing company. Mom called at 8 p.m. Ananya, what is going on? Priya's hysterical. She says you own her company? That you're some kind of billionaire? This is ridiculous. Tell her it's a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, Mom. But that's impossible. You work as an assistant. I never said that. You assumed it. I run an investment firm called Horizon Ventures. We manage $1.4 billion in assets. I founded it 7 years ago. Silence on the line. Then, 7 years? You've been lying to us for 7 years. I didn't lie. I just stopped correcting you when you talked over me. Mom's breathing was rapid, uneven. Your father needs to hear this. Hold on. I heard muffled conversation, then Dad's voice, gruff and disoriented. Anu, your mother says you're some kind of investor? That you bought Priya's company. I invested in Priya's company. $150 million. Her board sought funding because Lumina was 6 months from bankruptcy. Bankruptcy? Priya's company is thriving. She's been talking about a fantasy. The reality is different. I have her financial statements, Dad. I've spent 3 months analyzing them. Dad was quiet for a long moment. Why didn't you tell us? About your success. Would you have listened? He didn't answer. We both knew the truth. The Monday transition meeting was brutal. Lumina's board of directors gathered in the company's San Francisco headquarters. Priya sat at the head of the table, technically still CEO, but everyone in the room knew the power dynamics had shifted. I presented the restructuring plan. Immediate cost reductions of $2.1 million monthly, a new CFO with turnaround experience, supply chain optimization expected to save $8 million annually, and a refocused marketing strategy emphasizing profitability over growth. Priya fought every point. We can't cut the influencer budget. Brand awareness is everything. You're spending $340,000 monthly on influencers who generate 0 attributable sales, I replied. We'll redirect to targeted digital advertising with measurable ROI. The new product line launches in March. We can't postpone. The new product line is budgeted at $4.7 million with projected first-year revenue of $1.2 million. That's a losing investment. We're postponing until the core business stabilizes. You don't understand the beauty industry. I understand that your company loses $4 million every month. I understand that your customer acquisition cost is $89 per customer when the industry average is $34. I understand that you've burned through 3 CFOs because none of them would tell you what you wanted to hear. The board members nodded. They'd been trying to say these things for years. By the end of the meeting, Priya's operational authority was effectively eliminated. She retained her title, her equity stake, and her authority over brand aesthetics and product development. Everything else, finance, marketing strategy, HR, supply chain, now reported to executives I'd appointed. She left the conference room without speaking to me. That evening my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Priya's husband, Vikram. We need to talk." I agreed to meet him for coffee the next morning. Vikram was a cardiologist, successful in his own right, but overshadowed by Priya's entrepreneurial fame. He'd always been kind to me at family events, the one person who bothered to ask how I was doing. "I knew," he said, stirring his coffee, "about Lumina's problems." Priya wouldn't admit it, but I saw the stress. The sleepless nights. The hidden credit card statements. "Why didn't you say anything? Would she have listened?" He smiled sadly. "Priya doesn't accept help. It would mean admitting she needs it. She needs it now. I know. And I think this might be the best thing that's ever happened to her." He looked at me with something like gratitude. Someone finally told her no. Someone she couldn't dismiss or fire or manipulate. Maybe now she'll actually learn. Or she'll hate me forever. Maybe both. He finished his coffee. "Thank you, Ananya, for saving the company. And maybe, eventually, for saving my wife from herself." The weeks that followed were a masterclass in consequences. Lumina's new CFO, Rachel Morrison, implemented strict financial controls. Every expense over $1,000 required approval. Travel budgets were slashed. The $2.3 million photoshoot budget became $200,000. Priya raged, but the board backed every decision. The influencer marketing budget was redirected to targeted digital campaigns. Within 2 months, customer acquisition costs dropped from $89 to $51. Still above industry average, but improving. The postponed product line was quietly shelved. Market research showed limited demand. Priya had been planning to launch it anyway, hoping enthusiasm would materialize. Rachel killed it on profitability grounds. By month 3, Lumina's burn rate had dropped from $4 million monthly to $1.8 million. By month 6, the company was cash flow neutral for the first time in 2 years. The society friends who'd fled the country club brunch slowly returned, but their attitude toward Priya had shifted. She was no longer the confident queen holding court. She was the CEO whose little sister had swooped in to save her company. Mom and Dad called weekly now. Awkward conversations filled with questions they should have asked years ago. "How did you start your company? What exactly does venture capital mean? Why didn't you tell us?" I answered politely without warmth. They were finally interested in my life. But only because my life had become impossible to ignore. Priya and I didn't speak for 4 months. She showed up at my San Francisco penthouse in October. I was reviewing quarterly reports when the doorman called up. "Miss Patel, your sister is here. She doesn't have an appointment but says it's important." I hesitated, then said, "Send her up." Priya looked different. Thinner. Less polished. The armor of perfection she'd always worn seemed cracked, ill-fitting. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked into the living room and stopped, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Bay Bridge view, the art on the walls. The material evidence of a life she'd never bothered to imagine for me. "This is beautiful," she said quietly. "Thank you. I didn't come to apologize." She turned to face me. I should apologize. I know that. But I don't think I can. Not yet. I'm still too angry. Angry at me? Angry at myself. For not seeing. For not asking. For spending 30 years believing I was the special one, the talented one, when my little sister was building an empire while I was posting Instagram stories. I didn't respond. There was nothing to add. "Vikram says the company is healthier than it's been in 3 years. He says Rachel is brilliant. He says the board is actually functional now." She laughed bitterly. "He says I should be grateful. Are you?" "I don't know. I'm not good at gratitude. I'm good at achievement. At being the best. At winning." She sat down on my couch, suddenly looking exhausted. "What do I do when my little sister wins instead?" "It's not a competition, Priya. It was always a competition. Mom and Dad made it one. I was supposed to be the successful daughter. You were supposed to be the supporting character. That's how the story went. Stories change." She looked at me with something I'd never seen from her before, something vulnerable and raw. "Do they? Can they? Because I don't know how to be anything other than what I've been. The star. The favorite. The winner. You can start by being someone who listens. Who asks questions. Who doesn't assume she's the smartest person in every room? I sat across from her. Lumina is going to survive. Might even thrive. But not because of your brilliance, because of systems and discipline and people who know things you don't. That's humiliating. That's growth. We sat in silence for a long moment. The Bay Bridge sparkled in the autumn light. Mom wants to have dinner, Priya said finally. All of us. A family reconciliation. Her words. I know. She's called 4 times. Will you come? I considered the question. 29 years of being invisible. 4 months of being unavoidable. And now this, an invitation to pretend everything was fine, to let them off the hook, to resume my role as supporting character in the Priya Patel show. I'll come, I said. But not for reconciliation. I'll come to see if things have actually changed or if everyone just wants to rewrite history. Fair enough. Priya stood to leave, then paused at the door. Anu. Yes. I'm not ready to say I'm proud of you, but I'm surprised. And maybe, eventually, I'll figure out the difference between those things. Take your time. She left. I turned back to my windows, to my city, to the life I'd built while everyone looked elsewhere. The dinner would happen. The family would gather. Words would be spoken. Some genuine, some performed, most somewhere in between. But I wouldn't go back to being invisible. That version of Ananya Patel was finished. This one. The quiet billionaire, the reluctant savior, the sister who finally stood up. This one was just beginning. And for the first time in 29 years, I wasn't waiting for anyone's permission to exist. I just did.